Hi there, I'm Thackray, Managing Director of Leadfreak, and in this video series we're looking at account-based marketing. In the first couple of videos we looked at what account-based marketing is and the three different levels of account-based marketing that you can deploy into your business. This episode we're going to look at the 6 elements of the account-based marketing process, and we'll have a little overview of each part of that process. So just to recap on the 3 elements, we have over here our one-to-one at the top, one-to-few and one-to-many. So these are the different account-based marketing strategies that we can deploy. So one-to-one is we identify one account that we want to work with, and we work with that account on a bespoke basis. So we create marketing campaigns and sales strategies for that one account to increase wallet share or to begin working with them. We have one-to-few, which is where we identify a few accounts between 5 and 20 that we want to work with. They all meet a certain set of criteria and we choose them. And then we have the one-to-many, which is where we can choose between 20 and 100 accounts. They all fit into a certain bracket and we will target them with the same campaigns. Okay. Now the process for account-based marketing stays the same throughout. And let's dive into the first element of the process. So number 1 is we have criteria identification. And account selection. Basically what we're doing here is we are reviewing and selecting the criteria that we want to adopt when pulling accounts into our strategies. So if it's a one-on-one basis, what is the criteria that account needs to meet for us to pull it into a one-on-one basis? Is it average spend? Is it potential? Is it growth rate of the industry? Is it a plethora of multiple factors that we can select? But what is the criteria that we are going to run these accounts through to give them a yes or no as to which strategy they're going to belong to? And then following acceptance of that criteria, we would then look to filter the accounts. We filter and find the accounts to put them into each of those buckets. If it's an account already in our client portfolio, then we will run that data through our criteria, and whether or not they meet the acceptance standards, then they can go into the bucket. If it's looking outside of the organization, what information do we need on those companies in order to match it to the criteria? Where are we going to get that information from? Is it places like Companies House? Are we going to get them from B2B directories, from research organizations, etc.? So we look at identifying the criteria and the accounts that are going to fit into the strategies based on that criteria. So then number 2, if we just move that over here, we have stakeholder mapping. So once we've identified which accounts it is that we want to work with, we then need to research on those individual accounts. So we look at people within the organization, we look at the organization itself, we look at an external stakeholder map, who are influencers within the industry, who do they listen to, what events do they go to, and we compile all that information on an account profile. It takes a fair amount of work. Just remember, on the one-to-one level we go really deep and get as much as we can. On a one-to-many we lighten the load up a little bit, but we're dealing with more accounts. So you can see here that research into the accounts and into the criteria that we want to work with is very important. Just as important as number 3, which is our value proposition. So once we have our accounts and we've mapped the stakeholders within those individual accounts, we can then look to formulate a value proposition which meets that strategy. So you might have a collective on the one-to-many strategy, and you have chosen that one-to-many because you have a bespoke solution that meets their requirements. It might be an industry, it might be solution based, it might be growth rate based, but part of the criteria of you selecting those industries is that you have a value proposition to deliver to them. Now, we create multiple playbooks based on the services that you have within your business. These playbooks then can be pointed to an individual strategy. So we know that within the one-to-many approach, we can pick service A, B, product C, and advisory session G. So we map our products and services to find a bespoke solution that's going to meet the requirements of that bucket, of the one-to-many, the one-to-few, and then of course on a one-to-one basis we can identify within that account what they need to do in order to succeed and achieve their business objectives. So we need to leave our value proposition until we have accumulated our account information. But the first three sections are extremely important to get right. So then we move on to number 4. And number 4 is our campaign planning. So as I mentioned before, based on the strategy that we're deploying, whether it's one-to-one, one-to-few, or one-to-many, we would create and plan a marketing campaign over the duration of a 12-month period. So that might be multiple campaigns that we know is going to resonate with those individuals at that level. So if it's a one-to-one, then we plan a campaign across the 12 months which is going to resonate with that one account. Or we do a 12-month campaign plan that we know we can target the one-to-many accounts with over that duration, and they will resonate. Now, there'll be another video in this series which will look at the best or the most often used campaign types for each level of the ABM strategy. So we'll delve into that in another video. So the next part of the process is campaign execution. So once we have identified which campaigns we want to run, we then look to build and deploy those campaigns to the accounts that we're targeting at that time. And then number 6, one of the most important, is data extraction and reporting. And that brings us to full circle. So data extraction and reporting, we want to make sure that we're capturing all the metrics that are necessary throughout this whole process. In the first video in the series, we looked at some of the reasons why we might want to deploy an account-based marketing strategy, whether it's revenue, whether it's increased relationships, whether it's increased reputation. By identifying what our business objectives are before even starting on an ABM styled strategy, we need to be sure of our objectives. And once we are sure of our objectives, we can then extract that data to help show whether or not our ABM strategy is successful in contributing to successful completion of that goal and objective. We track multiple metrics across the business and across different third-party platforms to make sure that we can see where our campaigns and where our executions are delivering those results. And again, in another video in this series, we'll look at our pyramid reporting process so that we can break down those data reports to give us insight and actionable information. But that is the ABM process, all 6 steps. On the next video, we're going to look at the data reporting process. So we'll see you there.